Welcome to Talking Points TV, where today we are asking which is the greatest ever Manchester United and Arsenal game. You can go back as far as you like. You can look at any competition. There's been classics in the league, in the both domestic cups, FA Cup, League Cup, and in the Champions League. And we want to know which is the best. You can go all the way back to the 40s, the 50s, whatever you like. You can be as recent as a year ago. We want to know the greatest ever game. Some of my initial thoughts: a game where you might remember this goal. Teddy Sheringham has the ball. He lays it back. David Beckham runs up to it and almost like a free kick just bends it perfectly past David Seaman. That goal gets forgotten about though, because in the same game Patrick Vieira had the ball and just hit this sort of lazy pass that Ryan Giggs picked up. He just ran through their entire defence and smashed the ball home. And it was that incredible FA Cup semi-final in 1999. Dennis Bergkamp has a penalty saved. Roy Keane gets sent off. Schmeichel obviously made that save after Phil Neville's incredibly lazy, stumbly tackle because he was exhausted and he just brings his man down. A game that had absolutely everything, but also was contested by two of the great Premier League sides. That Arsenal team had just won the double and they were fighting to try and retain the double. If they'd beaten us in that game, they'd probably go on and beat Newcastle in the FA Cup semi-final. They also were runners-up in the Premier League by the last day. It was decided on the last day of the season. So two incredible sides at their peak, battling it out in a knockout game that had literally everything. So there's one. Then 2004, Roy Keane in the tunnel pointing. That was 2005, wasn't it? Roy Keane in the tunnel pointing, saying, "I see you out there." We're in that lovely black kit. Ronaldo scores twice. John O'Shea scores that brilliant chip. That was a really good game. There was the year before, the 2004 one, was when Ruud got his redemption. We ended Arsenal's unbeaten run. That was incredibly fun. The celebration in itself is just like iconic. Then 8-2, that was a laugh. The Champions League game where Ronaldo scores twice, won that ludicrous long-range free kick, and then the Ronaldo goal where he's set up by Rooney and Parks involved in that incredible counter. That was another great one. David De Gea made 14 saves in a 3-1 win. That was great. There's so many good games. I'm sort of getting lost and carried away with it, so we'll stop. But let me know, get in the comments on Talking Points, which is the best ever Manchester United and Arsenal game. Now, we're going to build up to that game, but first we're going to talk about something that's overshadowing some of the conversation around United at the minute, and it's an unfortunate one. It is the Lisandro Martinez, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, what's the opposite of a love triangle? That situation. And before I give you my thoughts, we'll look at some of yours. So Derek Harrington says, "Didn't think that Scholes and Butt were like this. Very disrespectful to the player and club. Should be ashamed of themselves." So Alex Fry, "I am as irritated as many fans with Scholes and Butt. And while I'm about it, Keane and Neville as well. There is nothing constructive in their comments, just negativity. None of them have successfully managed a team. They've all become know-it-alls, living on past glories. And I'm 72. I saw those. Grow up." Stephen Holmes, "I'm amazed that all 5'6" of Paul Scholes is having a go at Lisandro Martinez. Scholes would score with headers from midfield, and yet a 5'9" defender is the butt of the jokes." Yeah, really good point. Something that I'll add to this conversation. I'm not defending Scholes and Butt here, but I will say, as someone who's worked in the media and worked with pundits, is in this instance, I think they've just forgotten that they're being listened to, have forgotten that their words are carrying weight, have forgotten that people will analyse what they say, and they're talking to Paddy McGuinness, and I think they're just having a laugh. And yeah, it is lazy, but it's the kind of conversation that people do have sometimes where, you know, it's not nuanced and it's not balanced, and they've not thought very carefully about the players that they're talking about or how they've been performing. So this is not me making a massive defence of them, because like in their conversation, if you've seen their reaction to Martinez's reaction, they sort of acknowledged that maybe what they said wasn't very clever. They also say, Nicky Butt says at one point, like, it was really difficult for him because Alan Hansen was saying you never win anything with kids. But being criticised from the outside by a Liverpool legend is very different from being criticised ultimately from the inside by United legends. It's not the same scenario. And I think they're aware of that, and I think they know they sort of messed up. But I do think it comes down to just not really thinking. I think it's more lack of thought than genuine opinion. It's just my view as someone who's worked with football players. Something we want to ask you. You ready? Get your opinions. So look at the team here on the screen. This is the Manchester United team that played Arsenal when Michael Carrick was last in charge after Ollie left. And this team won 3-2. It was a fun game. Is this team better than the current Manchester United team? So I think if you look at the goalkeeper, yes, David De Gea is just an icon, a legend, just incredible. We mentioned earlier the 14 saves against Arsenal. You'd pick David De Gea in goal over pretty much everybody. I think the back four is better now. I think the players that we've still got, Dalot and Maguire, have evolved, but I think the players we've brought in have given us more than Telles and Lindelof. The midfield is a tricky one. I don't know if our current options probably are better than Fred and McTominay. Not the McTominay you see at Napoli. You've got to think this is McTominay at Man United playing in a much deeper role. He's a much more attacking player for Napoli. Bruno magnificent then. Bruno's magnificent now. Nice to see him back at the top, the fulcrum of a three-man midfield rather than sitting deeper, which he's been doing lately. Then Rashford on the right is not ideal. Sancho on the pitch is not ideal. Ronaldo as a centre-forward is obviously excellent if you want goals. So I'd say the very extremes of the team, the centre-forward and the goalkeeper, are maybe better than what we've currently got. But I think the rest of the team, I'd probably go with what we've got now. That's my opinion. I'd love to know yours. Get that in the Talking Points comments, please. Now, we're asking, if you could pick, if you were in charge, if you're Michael Carrick, what is your Manchester United front three for Arsenal? So Dale says, what a headache to have. I want to bring in Šeško and Cunha back to the team, but Ahmad and Mbeumo must start, and they can't both play on the right wing. I'm intrigued to see what other people suggest for this ahead of the game. Stephen J. Holmes, front three of Ahmad, Bruno and Cunha. Straightforward. Okay, Patrick, Ahmad, Mbeumo, Mount, Sveni, Ahmad, Mbeumo, Cunha, Beckham. If they want to win, Dorgu, Mbeumo, Ahmad. Then Mount, Cunha, Lacey. So very similar thoughts. A lot of people want Mbeumo, and I wouldn't argue with that. Cunha also very popular, as is Ahmad. So that's probably what you'd expect it to be. I'd go for maybe Cunha through the middle, Ahmad and Mbeumo on the wings. But I mean, the point about Dorgu's a good one. He's been playing really well, and often it's not the most glamorous options are the ones that win you the games. I mean, literally it is, because that's why they're the centre forwards, etc. But the work that he does off the ball makes a massive difference. So yeah, same as Mount. Mount's got a really good case to be playing, but good option off the bench, aren't they? Both of them. So can't be too upset if they don't get to start. So who do you want to start against Arsenal in those forward positions? But mostly, let us know in Talking Points, which is the greatest ever Manchester United and Arsenal game? Up the Reds.